triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Welcome, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio, and just want to say hello. I was going to start your day. I'm going to do this the right way. You know, every time I do this, if you want to join me on my website, it's www.battle4freedom.com. I don't know why I keep putting the www in front of there. It automatically goes there, no matter what you put in. Battle for Freedom is my website, and I also want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to mojo50.com, mojo50.com, and just click all the different links, buttons, and everything like that, because I trust me, you will enjoy the content that you get to hear. You know, right now there's a contest. This Sunday is the last week for the open mic session, and if you go to mojo50 or mojo50.com/open mic, you get a chance to listen to these 3 different shows that are out there. Ain't You a Peach? Let's see, Room 13, Tramping Through History, and Damn It with Beaver. These are the different programs that are available to you if you go out there right now and share with as many people as you can. The future voices, the future shows that you can enjoy that are on Mojo 50 Radio. And trust me, you will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. This is critical as we sit here and try and get content out there to as many people. Great shows, great people, great talent, and they'll be joining the great talent that you can listen to and find on Mojo 50 Radio. This is part of our crew. Go to mojo50.com, mojo50.com, and click the schedule button, and you'll find the different hosts and shows and programs that you can listen. In the morning, you have Daily Mojo at 8 a.m., Eastern Standard Time with Brad Staggs and Randolph the Gray. Check them out. You'll like the content that you hear throughout the day. Just excellent shows and programs that can be available to you. Today, you know, in light of everything going on, I'm going to try and do probably one of the most difficult things for me that's out here, and that's the idea of focusing on, let's see how I can say this. I don't want to focus on politics today. I don't want to focus on politics. Today, I really want to talk to you about plan, produce, persist, staying focused in the war, because many of you have lost sight of the reality of the war that we're in right now. Many of you have not paid attention to you have not realized what happens. Pandemic, COVID-19 has been probably one of the best things for America. And yeah, don't get me wrong. Yes, it's not a good thing. Yes, 200,000 plus people have lost their lives. But I've said this to you time and time again about the idea that God is using this moment to get us focused on what matters most. In the midst of everything going on, God is using this to get us focused on what matters most. See, we get distracted so easily, and sometimes we can get derailed, not like derailed with Off Track with Whiskey Six that comes on at 8 p.m. on Sunday evenings on Mojo 50 Radio, but we often get very derailed. So I want to briefly go into something. I want to briefly, I got to watch my words on how I say this. I want to briefly cover this subject so that you can understand this is nothing but a distraction. Jeffrey Toobin, this CNN debacle, where who was it? One of his coworkers basically says it was an accident. All of this is a distraction. Everything that comes on, you do realize that these are people who are falling on the horse to divert attention away from the real threats that are taking place. And sometimes we allow these things. We have our smartphones running 24 hours a day. We have so many different things that are going on and taking place in our lives, and we have so many distractions that get us and knock us off of our plan so quickly. And we have to do better than that. Did you start your plan off correctly with American Pride Roasters coffee?
That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. but I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 50 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle4Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel Blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo 50 Radio, and most important, Battle4Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters.
With Mitchell Dupree basically saying that, you know what, I agree with you 100%, saying that this is a reset button. He said that at the beginning of the crisis, many Christians have said it's like a reset button to get back to God. I agree with you 100%. That it is God basically trying to get our attention and make certain that we are focusing and we stay focused on this. I'm telling you, how many of you reevaluated your life in the midst of this pandemic? How many of you have reevaluated your life in the midst of this lockdown? How many of you have found that there's more time, more than anything that you can imagine, that has come through with you and reaching so many things that are critical? Because when you sit here and you look at, oh my goodness, I was wasting so much time in sports. I mean, even think about this. I think the MLB was just about to start. I believe the the baseball league was about to start. Basketball was running into its challenges. Football had been a couple of months since past. We had all these other different activities that were going on and basically keeping us distracted from those things, those tasks for home, those taxes. We have so much junk. I'm not lying to you. My office area is a disaster because I'm so busy. I'm allowing a lot of distractions to keep me from focused on my tasks. I have a lot of stuff behind me to my left that I have to get rid of and I have to throw off, because this is not just my office. It's the office with me and my wife. We both share this office, but I have some things in here that has to go, that has to be thrown away, so that both of us can operate in this space comfortably and not worry. But I've allowed a lot of things to disrupt my plans and stop me from producing, and I have not been persisting in what's going on. Curtis says Meteor 2020. Listen, folks, I've been saying Meteor 2020 for a long time. I've been talking about Wormwood for a long time, and now you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson or whoever it was saying that there's some meteor's going to hit the day before election day. Yeah, it's hey, you know what? If the meteor is coming, hey, listen, can I tell you about this really amazing plan for you? It's called Jesus Christ. Yes. In the midst of all the craziness, in the midst of the insanity, I'm telling you, you need to focus on Jesus Christ, because he's going to be the only stability that you're going to find in the midst of all the madness taking place. In the midst of all the madness taking place. This is, listen, we are all fallen, broken people. If you haven't learned anything in the last, I'm just going to say in the last 2 weeks, just in the last, between Tubin, between the president, between Biden, between the media, and so many other countless individuals, between your neighbor, and even between yourself. We are all fallen, broken individuals. And God decided that he's going to send his son to die for us, understanding that we are all jacked up, we're all sinful, we're all rebellious, and we all are doomed without God. So if a meteor's coming on November 2nd, if Wormwood's finally going to arrive, And again, we don't know the day or the hour that the Lord's going to return. And again, a lot of you have just thought that I'll just throw getting right with God on my plan and I'll take care of it later. This is a war going on. Like Mitch said, God was using this as a reset button, a reset opportunity for people to wake themselves up and be focused. And unfortunately, in the midst of this, many of you have chosen not to take advantage of this key moment in your lives to know him who saved you. Please, don't let another day, don't let another moment pass without you getting right with God. Please, I'm begging you. Again, I look at this whole idea. I sit here, like I said, I've got my stuff I've got to clean up. There's things that I've got to organize. There's things I've got to put away. There's things I have to throw in the garbage. And again, you start looking at these different little things here and there, all these different things that we're being focused on. Here's one I thought was really interesting. So there's this article out there, and I'm not going to show their face right now, but it on Daily Mail, and you can find it almost anywhere else. It talks about the whole idea that the Avengers have come along the side of Chris Pratt. Now, many of you know Chris Pratt he's a conservative. He's a Christian. He has no problem talking about his faith. And now Robert Downey Jr. and some of the other Avenger members want to come alongside of him and defend him in his conservative position. They want to defend him in his Christian faith and everything like that. Understand this. If that was the case, they would have been doing that last year. But see, things have changed, and I want you to plan, produce, and be focused in the midst of this, because the timing of the Downey Jr. and all these other individuals choosing that they want to defend him now is because of the fact that they've realized how much Hollywood has become irrelevant in light of the pandemic. Do you realize that there are movie theaters that are closing down? You're basically, what is it, $99 you can rent at least $99 you can rent out a movie theater? They've become completely irrelevant, and meanwhile they're probably only showing older movies. And again, if you have the money, if you have the budget, if you have the time to do this and you want to bless a theater, because remember, blessing a movie theater, you're also blessing the people who work there. You're helping provide for the families of the people who work at those movie theaters. So if it's something that I would say that would be a better investment for you rather than going out and wasting your money on sports packages for a bunch of sports athletes who couldn't care less about you because their whole goal is for you to pad their pockets. So when I sit here and I look at the convenience, the timing now of all times for Robert Downey Jr. Remember, Robert Downey Jr. was part of the crew who was sitting there slamming President Trump 4 years ago when they were saying that he can't be elected president. Vote Trump hate and everything like that. In the middle of this, that the Hollywood actors like Robert De Niro, who says that he wants to punch Trump in the face. See, you need to plan, produce, and persist. And many of you had actually found out in the midst of planning, in the midst of this, you started producing fruit in your life because you weren't distracted anymore. You weren't distracted anymore. And it's key that you do this. You know what? I'm going to bring this thing up here. I really didn't want to. Let me give you... I've already given you that second one. I'm going to go one more on this as I get this book ready for you. And let's look at cat coolers for a second.
When the world is going to hell in a handbasket, you need rugged. You need strong. You need durable. You need cat coolers. These are the best coolers on the market in 27, 55, and 88 quart. Go to catcoolers.com and give them the code Watson to save 10% on your purchase. Don't settle for those substandard containers that melt, leak, and destroy your memorable moments. Tell them that Watson from Battle4Freedom sent you. Cat Coolers.
And not only that, this is what I want you to do, not only on the cat coolers and being prepared. I have time. I'm going to get into some of this here. Okay? Plan, produce, persist, staying focused in the war. Sometimes in the midst of that, as you sat there and you looked at your time schedules changing and everything, you're being more focused on what you wanted to do. One of the things that's really cool in the process of this is I found this and I was exposed to Lord, oh, I'm sharing these wrong words and wrong phrases. One of my friends, and I appreciate this guy because of the content that he has basically shared with us over the years, has been Matt Bracken. He is the author of Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. And what's really good about this is here it is. He recommended this book, A Civil Defense Manual. I have volume 1 and I have volume 2 by Jack Lawson. Volume 1 and Volume 2. This is really good. A civil defense, just under $100. I want you to basically look these up. You're going to pick these up because it's very key for you. You remember I talked about other books about preparing in civil defense and things like that. This is very interesting because of the fact that this is written by special operations soldiers, and you know what? How to prepare and protect your neighborhood from disaster, riot, and civil unrest. See, in the midst of all this, as you guys started getting because here's the thing about it. I noticed on my timeline, a lot of people are getting very comfortable. They're happy that the sports are back. They're sitting here, they're celebrating the Lions, Tigers, and Bears, oh my, whatever. You're so fixated on all this other stuff. You're happy the sports. You're happy to get back into your leisurely activities, and you've been lulled back into the same state you were pre-COVID-19. That you sat here and you got so comfortable because you want to be entertaining, you want to watch the stars that you enjoy and you love, and you don't want to focus on what's critical that needs to happen in your home, that needs to take place, because you don't realize that in the midst of the NFL, the NBA, MLB, and all these other things being shut down was you not wasting money on those things. So if you're not wasting money on those things, that allows you to start paying off your bills. See, everybody keeps thinking, okay, well, the economy is going to crash and everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket. So there's no reason for me to actually focus on getting anything paid off, because sooner or later, you know what, we're going to be at war. So it doesn't matter if I have debt or not. No. Do you recognize? Oh, where's I saw this thing here. It was this article the other day. Yeah, here it is. This is on Forbes. It was talking about the whole idea of more people are saving for emergencies as use of mobile banking soars. They're saying that here it is, and I'll make sure that you have a link on battle4freedom.com. It says saving for emergencies and the unexpected is as such as illness, sudden illness, job loss, or home or car repairs rose to 64.2% of the households in 2019 from 56.3% in 2015. And so that was a 14% increase in 5 years, where you actually had people who were deciding to do more and investing more. Now, mind you, this is very interesting that at the end of the administration of Barack Obama, more people are putting savings away, not before. You had a 14% increase in 4 years. Don't sit here and I'm getting to politics for a second. Don't credit the previous administration on the fact that people were making money and people were saving more and putting more aside. Still not enough. Still not enough to put aside and prepare for the worst case scenario. And what's really sad about this is because of the fact that many of you are freaking out and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to survive. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, it's easy. Start cutting and cut the non-essentials out of your life so that you can actually focus on making investments in the essentials that you need for your life. People don't want to change. People don't want to do that. They want to keep wasting their money. They want to keep wasting their time. And then they get mad. They get angry. They get frustrated as to why they can't succeed. That's on you. That's on you. You can stop this. You can change this right now, but you have to make the decision on whether or not you're going to allow yourself to continually be distracted by all these squirrels that keeps popping up. And it has in many different forms. It could be in politics. It could be in entertainment. I saw this. I'm going to share a couple of things with you. There was another article, it was on the BBC, and it was just talking about the whole idea of the dangers of precrastinating. You've heard of procrastinating. We're going to talk about precrastinating because this is part of this whole idea This is part of this whole idea of staying focused in the midst of this challenge. It's not just economic challenge, it's political challenge, it's moral challenge, that's in this moral dilemma that's facing this country right now. I'm telling you, there's a battle afoot. There's a battle underway. There's a battle that's taking place. There's a civil war that's taking place between ethnic groups in this country. There's a civil war taking place in between political parties, in this country. And there's a civil war taking place between a lot of the people who are up top, not this president, but the people who want to maintain power and the citizenry. And it's time for we the people to wake up. But if we the people keep getting distracted by the constant squirrels that are out there, we will lose this war. And it starts off with you being focused and stop. You need to stop allowing these distractions to sideline you from what you need to do. Period. You need to stop letting these things sideline you. I don't think many people care about this, but we're facing a challenge here. I know that it's so easy. I don't know what you subscribe politically. It's so easy to point out our enemies, right? It's so easy for us to point out, oh, well, it's the left, or it's the right, it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats. It's so easy to point that out. But when I sit here and I talk to you about the importance of getting right with God and focusing on the real battle that faces you, you need to remember, for those of us as Christians, I think it's so easy for us to get distracted. Trust me, I love talking politics. I love talking politics and so much more because it's such an exciting topic. But it can get you easily distracted. And for those of us right now, I know we're angry as we're watching what the Democrat Party is doing. It's so annoying to watch and see what the progressives are doing in this country to ruin this. And many of us are ready to go to war. Many of us are ready to go to battle. And a lot of us are ready to go on the offensive. And I'm saying that you're not even prepared to engage. And I think it's because we're so distracted that a lot of people are about to go out and engage in war, and they're nowhere near prepared for the battle. They don't have a solid foundation to stand on, or even a good retreat to fall back to in the event of injury or overwhelming odds. There's a lot of people, they probably play a little bit too much Call of Duty. When the battle hits, there's going to be a lot of duty in their underwear because the fact that you are not prepared for what is on its way. And it is time for you. It's more than anything else. Renee, it's more than just the toilet paper. It's more than toilet paper. And yes, Curtis Ray was saying, Relier was saying on my earlier comment, the Pharisees in Hollywood. Yeah, I want to go back to that for a second there. You have to understand, when God's moving in your life and God is providing the right momentum in your life, there will be people who will throw anchors or they'll throw hooks to actually grab onto you, because they can see God moving you through the water. They can see God moving you through the waves. So they understand, if I basically hook onto them, they have no traction. They're stuck in the mud. They're stuck in the bottom of the water, like they're anchored at the bottom of the water, and they see a moving object. So they're going to do their best that they can to anchor themselves on you, because they know that your forward motion can pull them out of their rut, because God's moving you forward. And you have to understand, you can't allow yourself to be sidetracked or even anchored down. You have to keep moving. You're producing. And the way you persist is you keep moving. You keep moving. You keep moving. Let's do this. Let's go to a break, okay? And I'm your host, Watson Prettier from Battle4Freedom on Battle4Freedom Radio. Let's go to a break, and I'll talk to you people on the flip side.
This election will be vital to the health and sustainability of our country. Our role from this day on could steer the election in either direction. Why? The way we treat one another. In John 13:35, Jesus says, "By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." We know that every election cycle brings out the worst in us. If there was ever a point for honesty, it is in how we act during election season. As much as we would want our candidate to win, attacking a person with contrary opinions only makes them determined to reject our point of view all the more. It may come off as ignorant from them, but we cannot claim innocence if we allow arrogance and disrespect to be the means in which we communicate with those who support the other party or other candidates. Our goal was and will never be to convert voters. Our role is to give them the information needed prior to them casting their vote. It is their choice and right of what they do with that information. Understand, more people are aware of the political corruption and hypocrisy than they wish or want to admit. So there's nothing for us to prove. Choose to be people who invoke change rather than people who irritate and strain. Dale Carnegie once wrote, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." In other words, give people the room to make their own mistakes. Without seeing that they were wrong, they would be blind to see what is right. Remember, every soldier present and gone have fought for the right of every American citizen to vote their own conscience. To insult and ridicule people for exercising their liberty to vote for their candidate is to also desecrate the efforts, memories, and sacrifices made by our heroes for said liberty. Please, show respect. Our nation depends on it.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you who are part of the show. I don't know if you're going to be listening to this live or you could even be listening to it via replay, but I appreciate it. And if you weren't aware, my website is battle4freedom.com. From there, I want you to just share out as much as you can as Mojo 50. Mojo 50, Battle for Freedom, as much as you can, and let everyone know who I am and how I have content out here. So, as I sit here and I'm watching this thing here unfold, I'm talking about the idea of plan, produce, persist. I saw this really interesting article, and those who are following on Facebook, I put it in the timeline of the comments that you can watch here. And I'm just going to give you just a couple of points out of this. I don't want to hit the whole thing because I'm going to be using this again in the future. But there was an article on the BBC that talks about how long can you survive without water. This is really critical when you look at this. I don't want to give you all the notes and points of this program, but water is a critical aspect of our lives. Water is a critical aspect of our lives, and sometimes we can get so distracted, and being prepared. I want to go back to some of the comments that were in here where Renee was talking about, being stocked up on toilet paper and Lysol wipes and, having MREs and things like that. Yeah, those are the high level of moving towards preparation and just having those things for sanitation and sustenance and everything like that. But most people, the last thing people think of, and it's really sad and it's really scary on how people always wait till the last second to think about getting cases of water, having water and being prepared for the worst case scenario. Again, I mentioned this in the first segment of the show. I want you to do me a favor, go out and get a civil defense manual. Volumes 1 and 2 are available right now. If you basically go and order this from Jack Lawson. Very good on the information and how it prepares you for the worst case scenario. But here's one of the things, because I really don't want to talk about this, because oftentimes when you share things like this, like prepping and being prepared for the worst case scenario, people all automatically start putting you in this worst case category. They start labeling you. You're now worse. You're now worse than a pedophile to many disillusioned Americans if you actually do something so constructive as preparing for the worst case scenario. And it's very sad. It's very it's discouraging. It's discouraging to hear how many people can be so easily wrapped up in the lies, in the and all of a sudden you being prepared is somehow an effect or an offense against them. You're now stealing happiness and safety and security from them, even though you made the sacrifices to do what's right. And see, and that's the other thing that's going to come with this is, and be very careful how you talk about this, and be very careful who you talk to about this. Because some people they'll sit there and they'll allow you to do all the work of doing all the preparing and all the information, and you just sat there and just blast your mouth out so you can go back and delete your comments if you want to, Renee. I think it would probably be good for you to, no one, please do not post what you have, where you have, and when you have, and how you got it. Do not do this. You have to understand, plan for the worst case scenario, but also plan for the idea that there will be people who will come in and try to take what you have. As you sit here and you produce your stockpiles, you produce whatever it is, you have your situations and you're ready to go. You're ready to bug out. You're ready to do whatever you need to. Don't tell people what you're doing. When everything is going to hell in a handbasket, don't say to everybody, see you losers later. Don't do that. Don't brag about being prepared. Don't brag. That is the worst thing that you can do. You know why? Because of the fact that's being a arrogant and haughty spirit. And God says that pride comes before the fall and a haughty spirit before destruction. You can actually be heaping judgment on you because of the fact that you allowed the pride of your heart to feel that you've put confidence in what you've put aside. And actually, in the end, it backfires for you because you celebrate saying, hey, folks, I'm over here and you losers are over there with nothing. You put the biggest target, not only on you, but your family. See, right now, in this mist and battle, the social media is allowing us keyboard warriors and our microphone warriors and everything like that. We're sitting here, we're happy, we're proud, we're winning, we're on top of this thing. This is the danger. Again, I like a lot of the forcefulness and persistence of the president, but then I think this is where the danger runs in, that many people start looking at his very arrogant and haughty and boastful and braggadocious spirit and think that this is something I can carry on, but not realizing that, you know what, maybe he's better tamed in how he controls his braggadocious spirit, but you aren't. And you're going to sit here in your pride and you're going to tell people, I got this, I got my guns. What are you going to do? So you don't have enough guns if there's hundreds, thousands of people descending upon you. Remember, last weekend you had a protest of pro-Trump supporters in San Francisco. They were basically protesting against the censorship from Twitter and Facebook. And it was only hundreds. It was only basically barely 100 of them, but hundreds of Antifa and Black Lives Matter supporters came out and descended upon them. One black guy punched in the face, bleeding because he's got his tooth knocked out of his mouth, hanging right there from him. You saw it, the bloody face and all, because you arrogantly, boastfully told the enemy exactly what you're doing. It's not warfare. That's dumb fare. That's idiot fare. You have to use your mind. You have to use your head as you're engaging in these things that are going in here. This is war. And many of you keep thinking that, oh, yeah, by the time the election's over, this is going to be gone. This isn't going to be gone. I mean, think about this. Look what people did just in the beginning of this pandemic, in the beginning of this shutdown. What mentality that people had, how far, and actually, no. Let's go before the pandemic, okay? You had people willing to rob, steal, kill. The pandemic only heightened their desperation all the more. And in desperate times, desperate people do very wicked things. And so you take out one or two in your first round, in your first volley of basically trying to shoot off, unless you have 300,000 rounds of ammo to basically take out at least 5 to 10,000 people. That's how many you have to consider would be coming back just for your one loaf of bread that you have in your home, and your kids, and your spouse. But in your arrogance, you're going to sit here and you're going to plan for just share with the world what you're doing. You're going to arrogantly boast that there's nothing for you to worry about. But you haven't even done the first 3 chapters of Civil Defense by Jack Lawson. You haven't even touched those. And trust me, I'm going to read it, and I want to interview him so he could be on this program and you guys can hear some great wisdom on what's to prepare for. But a lot of you guys, you sit here and you're arrogantly thinking that, you know what, just because the president can be braggadocious, I can be braggadocious. And you think somehow, some way, in some twisted kind of way, that all the defenses that protect him are going to come down and share and just shower protection against you, for you. Kidding me? That's how you stunt your growth. You stunt your growth when you decide to start bragging. And think about this. Hollywood got so arrogant and so boastful in their behavior, and COVID-19 came in and humbled them good. Businesses are closing. They're afraid because of the fact that they don't have money coming in. I was listening to the Daily Mojo yesterday. They were talking about the whole idea. What was it, back in May? You had how many different movies are supposed to come out in May alone? Keanu Reeves had 2 movies. I was excited to see The Matrix 4. I love The Matrix. But you know what? The Matrix was doing nothing for me. The Matrix wasn't helping me get my job done. The Matrix wasn't doing... Keanu Reeves, good guy and all, whatever. But I need to take care of Watson. And many of us are so wrapped up in all these events and everything going on that we don't realize how distracted we've been. And we've lost a lot of time. We've lost a lot of productivity. What plan have you devised in the midst of everything going on here? See, there are a lot of people who live in Seattle, Portland, New York City, who they thought that they could just live there, live in the limelight, and not think that this was going to come back and bite them. A lot of people here, even here in Indianapolis, as Indianapolis is seeing record number of deaths as of yesterday. I think at least 165 deaths. Chicago near 600, and most of you have become so. There's so much of you have become so. That's the word for it. You become so lax, so complacent, so indifferent, so apathetic to the true dangers that are in your community that you sat here and thought that this is not going to affect you. I'm asking you to wake up and stop playing around here. Stop playing around, because this is only going to get worse. Curtis, you're right. First rule of Prep Club is don't talk about Prep Club. We are so woefully behind on half the stuff that we wanted to get. Because you know what? You can't prep if you have debt. Let me repeat that for you. You can't prep if you have debt. See, a lot of us keep playing. We want to play this game. We want to play this game of just trying to, we're just going to take time to pay stuff off while it accrues interest and robs us. If you don't have the money to pay for it, don't purchase it. If you don't have the money to pay for it, don't purchase it, because of the fact that interest builds. And when you're sitting there and you're wishing, oh, I wish I had money for that land, or I wish I had money for that extra weapon, oh, I wish I had money for all those other different things. Let's do this. Let's go through, sit down, go through your expenses for the last 8 months. I'm even talking about your expenses during the pandemic. What did you buy during this pandemic time that had no intrinsic value to itself? It was just something that made you feel good. And you bought the lie from the advertisers that this is going to make you feel better. When you sit there and you look at that inanimate object, it does absolutely nothing for you. Oh yeah, it's a streaming service. You can watch those videos over and over and over again. That just makes you more and more of a couch potato and less of a productive individual to get yourself in a position where you can succeed. There's so much that needs to happen. There's so much that needs to be changed on this. I was just looking at that idea, that concept of even just how many days can you go without water? How long can you survive without water? And I'm saying, look at the critical things that you know that you needed even in the midst of this pandemic. And even as things start shoring up again, as things start moving again, as businesses are coming back, and from what I'm hearing, we're about to go into round 2 of shutdown. And you thought it was going to be great for you to just go out and have fun and celebrate. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm not saying you cannot go out and celebrate. My wife and I, we've been gifted. And you know what? We've been gifted for some great gifts to just take the family out to the restaurant. And we did that. We were giving some gift cards, and it is a blessing. It really is. And when we took advantage of that, and we chose to also bless the people who were at the restaurant because we were blessed. But you sit here, many of you are thinking, I'm just going to go back to life as pre-COVID life. And it's like, no, you can't. You can't. If you have not recognized the failures for you to be prepared for the worst case scenario, and if you're sitting here and you're looking forward to that stimulus check, if that stimulus check is going to make and break you, if you're not getting that stimulus check is going to break you, you are doing something wrong. We are doing something wrong if our life depends on a stinking first or second stimulus check. Last year, Americans spent $1.4 billion on Black Friday. One day. Or could have been even the whole weekend. I'll give you the whole weekend. That we spent that much money in a weekend. I'm thinking it's just the day alone. $1.4 billion. That's half the money that they're trying to hand out to us right now. Get this. The money that they want to spend extra on sending money to American citizens only gives you one day of satisfaction. One day, 1 weekend of satisfaction. That's how far your $1,200 is going to go. Is barely 1 weekend of satisfaction, and many of you still have not developed the mentality of thinking months, weeks to months to years out. Oh my goodness, this is so funny. There's another article that I put in there. I want you to take a look at this. There's another article I want you to check that I have on here. Where did I put this? I apologize. Trying to get my brain to function in the right way. It doesn't always work. Here's one I liked. Now, this is going to be the danger, though. Here's going to be the danger as I sit here talking about prepping, because you're going to like, oh my goodness, there's a million and one different things I can do. There's all these things I can do this. I'm going to get land. I'm going to get food. I'm going to get water. I'm going to get guns. You're going to get all these other different things, right? I like this article. How to be more efficient. Stop procrastinating. This says, whether or not we care to admit it, we're all familiar with procrastination, waiting until the last minute to catch up with pressing tasks, often leading to subpar, incomplete work. The antidote, while easier said than done, is simply to start your assignment sooner, long before the cutoff time, so that your work reflects your full potential. But in your quest to beat procrastination, is it possible to go too far? I love this on this thing. David Rosenbaum, a professor of psychology at the University of California, Riverside, certainly thinks so. His research focuses on the perils of precrastination, the tendency to rush too quickly into tasks. It can result in an expenditure of unnecessary effort that could be avoided with a bit of planning. In other words, haste makes waste. Now, those of you who've been listening to me on Battle for Freedom on Mojo Fiber Radio, I've been here almost 2 years. December will be 2 years. Oh my goodness. Is it really? 2 years. Holy moly guacamole. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. And oh, bet you I'm having fun on me some Mojo 50 Radio. I'm having me some fun, and it is great because I also sometimes get a chance to just celebrate on hearing that every now and then.
Watson!
Yeah, but he usually calls me Wilson because the running joke right now on Mojo 50 is not to call me Watson. It's basically to call me out of my name. And it is fun. It's hilarious. It is very entertaining, and I truly appreciate every last one of them as they're talking about this. A couple, get back to this procrastination thing for a second before I go to some of the comments that are on the timeline about this. The procrastination about the whole idea of taking on all these different tasks. Listen. You have to start somewhere. You can't start everywhere. You have to start somewhere. You can't start everywhere. I'm not going to lie to you. I fit the mold of sometimes jack of all trades and master of none. Jack of all trades, master of none. My dad, as talented and as amazing as he is, my dad, one of the things is really interesting on this is that he can take on a million different tasks, but unfortunately, he doesn't finish them all. And I think that's probably why I've been so distracted here, as I've been taking on so many different tasks that I need to continue to have that board out there, even as I get emails about the things that I need to do for my job, as I'm trying to fight so many different fires. And it seems like every time I start one fire, I have another fire putting right in front of my face at work. And I'm trying to put all these things out, and all I have is a blanket. I don't even have an extinguisher. And so I can't even properly fight these fires all at the same time. So sometimes I just, fires lit in front of me. And I think that there's been a level of desperation that's been pushed into our lives of fire. And, in COVID-19, lockdown has shown a lot of different fires burning in our lives that need to be put out so we could be better prepared for the worst case scenario. But we don't even have a proper plan on how to put out those fires. The fires I've been telling you guys about that have been in your lives for the last couple of years as you've been listening to me has been those debt fires. See, little debt here, little debt here, little debt here, little debt here. What is that doing? That debt's burning at your financial stability. I don't have a picture for Dave Ramsey to share with you right now in Total Money Makeover. I can only tell you so much. And even now, as a forest fire, as our economy comes to a collapse, okay? As our economy comes to a collapse, and you've allowed those small fires of debt to consume your life, understand this, those will turn into forest fires. It'll be worse than the calamities that it's consumed over, 1 million, 2 million acres in California. Because if you don't address it, if you don't deal with it, it becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger fire. And you can't contain it, because you're overwhelmed and you're fighting fires on so many different fronts. This whole time of COVID, this whole time of pandemic, this whole time of shutdown, it's not to complain about what you lost. It's actually to shore up what you have. This whole time of being prepared in the worst case scenario, it's about basically preparing for what you have. Let's go into some of the comments. Renee made a comment about stop eating out all the time. I'm not saying you, nowhere in any way, in everything I say, I've never said you can't eat out. I never said you shouldn't eat out. I go out and eat out, but budget for eating out. And if you're not blessed and given money to actually go off and do that, don't do it. But we need to get outside. We're basically what's the word for it when you're tired of being in the house, when you're frustrated of being in the house? What's the cabin fever? Because a lot of people were experiencing cabin fever because of COVID-19 and basically the lockdown. A lot of people experience cabin fever going through the winter because of the fact that they can't go out and do all the different things that they want to. Here's the problem is if cabin fever, and I know it's a psychological thing for a lot of different people, but do you know how debilitating and crippling and paralyzing that phrase and mentality actually is? Because there's so many different things that we can focus on in our lives. There's so many different things, that there's so many tasks, small, great, or whatever it is, that we can take care of and actually have a sense of accomplishment in our lives. And some days, you know what? I'm going to tell you, some days it isn't always that you need to be task oriented and always moving. One of the things that I'll always say, COVID-19 is COVID-19. COVID-19 basically has highlighted this scripture passage. Be still and know that I'm God. I will be exalted among the nations. I'll be exalted in the earth. God was trying to slow us down in the midst of everything that's going on here. And there are days that we just have to take a break. We don't have to have our mind running at 500,000 cycles per second. Some days we just need to take it easy, relax, and just enjoy the splendor and presence of our Savior who has redeemed us, who has saved us. But often it's very difficult for us to slow down. God, it took a pandemic, it took a virus, it took a plandemic, it took whatever it is that's going on right now to get many of you to shut down and slow down. But you don't want to do what you're supposed to. Jennifer Owens Mays basically says, also start working on your physical health and your readiness. Yes, physical health is key, especially if you have to get up and run, if you have to get up and move, if you have to get away from the battle. Don't get into this whole idea is like, oh, I can't take care of myself. I guess they're just going to have to kill me. You're like a sloth and you give up. I think that's the mentality that I've been experiencing from people, is they don't want to even engage in trying to get themselves debt free, engage in preparing for the worst case scenario, engage in trying to pursue those passions that they have in their lives. You know, it's really sad because of the fact that people cooped up. Yes, that's another phrase. Cooped up is another phrase. It's okay, Lisa. Thank you for even joining in, because if you're taking care of what matters, that's all that matters. Saying that she's running late. Understand this, folks. There's this big battle that awaits us. For me, I think one of the ones for me that I know I need to do and I need to do well. I appreciate the encouragement that many of you give me every day. But you have to understand, my battle starts here. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. It's basically being fortified and standing in the presence of God, because that's where the battle is going to be won day and time and time and time again. Until we get into the mentality that we are standing in his presence and basically hearing from him, because if anyone has a better plan on how do we survive, it's definitely going to be God. He knows where all the nooks and crannies are, where you can hide. He knows all the different avenues that you could pursue for success, and he knows all the things you need to do to be prepared for the worst case scenario. I don't think many of us want to do that. Many of us want to hear that. We want to live in our sin. We want to live in our rebellion. We want to live in defiance to God, because right now we're just having fun, and that's all that matters, right? No, it really isn't. This is a warm-up. What's happening right now is a warm-up for the worst case scenario. And see, look at this. We watched cities in America burn. We watched cities in America where businesses were destroyed. Glasses shattered, merchandise stole, taken out of there, people beaten down, attacked, a city basically sieged and turned into a free fall of summer fun and love, which actually was nothing but the worst of the worst. Seeing humanity, who wanted to be free from tyranny and law, become tyranny and law themselves. People died in the chop zone, Chaz, chop, whatever zone. People died there because of the arrogance of individuals thinking that they could. You understand something here. The Chaz Chop zone was the biggest testimony to the failure of socialism that you ever could imagine. See, everybody right now has this super confidence, and yeah, I'm getting political for a second, and then I have to, because you need to plan for this worst case scenario, because there's going to be more Chaz chop zones popping up around the country, and potentially even in your community if you're not paying attention to those dangers, those dangers that are waiting and lying in wait and ready to spring and attack. If you don't think that this is serious, folks, it's going to be worse than you ever could imagine. Please, I'm begging you, get your life straight, get your life right. This is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. War's here. Don't let these distractions in the news take you away from what you need to do. Please stay focused. War's here. Plan, produce, and persist no matter what the distractions are. I'm your host, Watson, creator for Battle4Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. I appreciate all of you. I'm out.